everybody, it's Thea. Thanks so much for being here and welcome back to my YouTube channel, which is titled Garden Goddess Tarot. And at some point I will have some gardening content up, but not today. Today is going to be just like an October roundup. I want to get into the habit of just doing a monthly recap of things that I've been enjoying with no pressure. I'm not shilling anything, I just want to talk about some of the stuff I've been enjoying, so that's what we're going to do today. This show, you'll notice this is not a show, this is a book, but I've really gotten myself into a discovery of witches, like a lot. In October, I had a bit of a, we'll call it a health encounter. My body decided it was going to do a weird thing. For a while, I couldn't sleep, and during that time, I binge watched season 1 and season 2 of A Discovery of Witches, like pretty much straight. And I don't know if it was the state I was in, whether I was delirious or not, or if I was just like needed something to distract me from what was happening. I got really into this and it has become like a part of me now. So I've gone out and bought the book. This is the first season book. And it is a show about vampires, witches, and demons living in the world. The reason it kind of strikes a chord so well with me is I have always loved vampires, like always. I've been an Anne Rice vampire nerd since I was in high school. My Anne Rice book collection is astounding. It also takes place in the UK, among other countries, but like home base for the show series is Oxford in the UK, and I've been there. I love visiting the UK. I have friends that live over there, and I was like, oh, okay, this is beautiful and wonderful. The production value on the show is also phenomenal. And Matthew here has carved out a little place in my heart as well, so. Anyway, I went and got the book. I'm reading the book right now. We'll see if I hold on long enough to read through this one, the second book. And then the third book is the third season of the show, and that comes out in January. So I don't know if I should read the book first or watch the series first. I think I'm gonna hold off on the book and then watch the series when it comes out in January of 2022, and then read the final book, just because for some reason I want the show experience first, because that's how I came to the series first, but then also get the book after, just to kind of see where the differences are in between where like the author intended and, you know, the course of the show. But anyway, I've been thoroughly enjoying that in a very like deep and like satisfying kind of way that like it's like it almost like pulls up that inner child or inner teenager in me and like validates her and is like, it's fine, you know, go with it, you like this, enjoy it unapologetically, which I've been doing, and I've even sucked my husband into watching it with me, which is hilarious. So that is A Discovery of Witches. Highly recommend if you have not seen it. It's really good. Like, I don't know, I think it's really good. I'm sure there are lots of criticisms that are valid, but I ignore all of those because I like it. And that's just what we do with things that we like. The next thing that I managed to find and use and I'm getting an incredible amount of joy from is actually a wax stamping kit. So I found one craft store, believe it or not, and they had my letter, which is my last name, it's an E. And it's just like a little brass stamp with a wooden handle, and then you get the melting wax and you melt it and then you stamp it, and it's just, it makes letters that much more magical, like Hogwarts letter vibes, anybody? But I'm in the process of sending letters to everybody that I know, because who doesn't want to get a letter that is sealed with a wax stamp? I've also been doing some like secret-y, magic-y kind of workings with it in like just a personal sort of thing. I'll write down something that I would like to release and or keep secret and seal it up and kind of keep it as a sealed secret in a sort of way, which I think is kind of cool. It's a very like personal, practicey, experiencey type thing, but I think it's really good. And then if I get to some point where I'm like ready to release said secret, I will open and burn it and it'll be this whole thing. But for now, like, making the little secret packets is extremely satisfying, and it just adds another layer to the catharsis of that kind of practice. So I'm really enjoying my little wax sealing kit, and I'm being very careful because it's interchangeable. You can just unscrew this and then get other ones that can go on, and I'm like tempted to go ham and get like the little bee and the little lavender and rosemary sprig and get all the colors of wax and, you know, go to town and make like it into this big thing. But I think I just want to like sit with what I've got here with my like classic red wax and my one stamp and kind of really enjoy this without like having it barrel crazily into like a collection of random tools. So that's what we're gonna do with this, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that in a weird way. I was at a psychic fair the day or two before Halloween, and like they had a, you know, cheap tarot readings, and it's been ages since I've had a reading from somebody else, like absolute ages. So I thought, hey, let's jump on the opportunity. So I had my first reading in a very long time from someone else, and it was a lovely experience. I feel like it was the kind of reading where we both kind of got equal amounts out of it. It was a very like mutual participation reading, if not just because I can't shut my mouth and let other people talk about cards. I told her it's totally cool, like you can shut me up if I'm, you know, interjecting too much, because she was relatively new, but you know, it's always nice to have that outside perspective on the cards, even if like you're sitting there reading the cards yourself. Like hearing what other people have to say about them is really important as well, and I really value that opinion. But at the same time, like I'm like eager to impart knowledge as well. So it was fun, it was good, it was a wonderful experience, and I would happily do it again, especially at such a discounted rate. While I was at the metaphysical shop that was having the psychic fair, I picked up a couple of other things too, just because you walk by the table of rocks and go, ooh, it's rocks. So there was this absolutely gorgeous ammonite. So yeah, this is the cutest little ammonite fossil that's been polished. It's absolutely gorgeous. I walked by it and was like, yep, this has to live in my pocket. So I bought it, and it is now mine, and it lives actually on top of one of the decks that I'm going to talk about right now, just because for some reason it felt like it had to. But yeah, that's my new ammonite, which is absolutely lovely. I love the color too. It's like, it's earthy, but it's got like little squiggles of like fleaminess running through it. It's really cute. And then I saw this and was like, you know, I'm never intentionally shopping for crystals. I see them and part of my brain goes, you need to have that. And I have no explanation for it, but some things I'm drawn to, others I'm not, and that's the way I do it. I never like set it specifically for something. But anyway, I walked by this and thought must have it. Here it is. This is something I'd never seen before. It is an orange obsidian, apparently. Anyway, it looks like a little droplet of fire. It's got just like this fiery, warm, clear, but like zingy energy to it, and it actually reminded me of those fish oil pills I used to take. And I thought it was just, but like, it's hard because it's a crystal. So anyway, I was like, yep, that's also something I feel like I want to hold in my hands. And then when I was holding it, I was like, I'm not letting this go. It's coming home with me. So I picked up that as well. So those are some things I picked up at the psychic fair while I was there, and thoroughly enjoying them. So they live in my pockets. The ammonite, obviously, it's very watery and earthy at the same time, so those associations are fairly standard for me. The orange obsidian, though, it's strange because obsidian usually is black, very like protection and grounding, but because of the color, I don't know, it's like a weird mix. I have to work with it a little bit, but I do like initially getting fiery vibes from it, so maybe I'll work with it in that way. But for now, I'm just enjoying having it, and that's good enough for me. So those are my little treasures from the psychic fair. Alrighty, let's get into some decks. I did a deck mod this month, and I want to show you. It turned out so well. This is a gorgeous little peggy bag that I've had for a while, and it's so cute. And it matches the backs of this deck so well. So this is the Ancient Italian Tarot by Lo Scarabeo, and it had white borders on both the front and back. And I thought, you know what? As much as like I liked the size, but I thought, you know what, it would be slightly improved with the removal of the borders, and I am glad I did it. So I've removed the borders from the front and the back, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So stunning. But the cards are, it's like a Marseille style, but it's like, it's not French Marseille. It's an Italian version. There's a little bit more texture. It's a little bit later than the original old style Marseilles. This actually was based on the Soprafino Tarot, if I'm correct. And yeah, these are the gorgeous cards, and they've been freed from their borders, and it makes me happy. I've also edged it in like a kind of coppery color. I used permanent marker, Sharpie, so it looks a little worn, but I like that. It kind of gives it this nice like oldie worldy deck that's been around for a while. I trimmed it with scissors. My thumb still kind of hurts from it, so we're still recovering from the process, but I love how it turned out. I think this is just a great classic oldie worldy style traditional deck to use. I love the readings I get from Marseille style decks. They just kind of, because there isn't the suggestion that you get from a normal like scenic illustrated minor type deck a la RWS, it frees your mind to really pick up on the like relationships between the cards a lot more, and I find that aspect of reading with this type of deck really interesting and appropriate for a lot of different types of questions. So I really enjoy this deck, and I'm glad I spent the time with it to modify it to make it into what it is now, and that's fun. So that's one thing I did this month. Another deck that I have been working with a ton, so much so that I've brought it downstairs and it now lives next to my bed, is the Hush Tarot. And I talked about this during my Dark Decks for Fall video, and I was right to assume that this was going to get a crap ton of use. It is so pretty. They just have this magical quality to them. You can feel it. They're so earthy, vibrant in a muted sort of way, with so much emotion. The images themselves do differ from the classic RWS, but I can find meaning in them so easily. They speak to me really well. I'm not sure this is the kind of deck I would whip out to read for with someone else, but for myself, it's great. And I love the way it lines up with this season so well. It just reflects the slow decay of everything outside so well, and it's like, it's comforting in that way. I used it for my Samhain spread that I did at midnight on Samhain, and it was beautiful and incredibly accurate. So yeah, needless to say, now this deck and I are bonded, and it has earned its place in regular rotation like predicted. So that is the Hush Tarot by Jeremy Hush, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it. And the Ammonite that I just showed has been like living on top of it on my bedside table, which is like right over there for easy access, and I'm really enjoying that. Another thing that happened in October is my Oracle deck, the Hellenic Oracle deck, went live on Make Playing Cards, and a bunch of you have purchased it, and just now it is arriving to you, and I hope you all love it so much. Like, I'm so nervous. It's weird. It's weird that I'm nervous, but I am nervous because there's always that little bit in the back of your head saying, oh my gosh, they're gonna hate it. They spent money on it. What if it's not what they expected? So I'm hoping I did a thorough enough overview of it in my walkthrough video, but the bunch of you that bought it, I genuinely hope that you enjoy it and love it forever, because I do. I've been using it nearly every day just as like a daily card pull, as well as when I get a certain feeling that there's kind of a vibe that I need to either focus on or that just keeps showing up all the time. Like if I feel like, for example, this month it was Aries. There was a lot of Aries energy, for lack of a better word, floating around. So I pulled them out and I stuck them up on my altar so I could look at them every day and just kind of reflect on that and see how I can work with that energy in a more positive way. The Aries card is very, it's tied to the Emperor in the regular tarot as well, which is a tarot card that I personally need to work with, and I'm finding that latching on to the Aries energy of that card is helping me get a better relationship with the Emperor card instead of just seeing it as authority, which I naturally have an aversion to. So I'm definitely working with that a lot, and this deck has helped me do that. So this is a fun, what I'm basically getting at is this is a fun way to kind of work in the energies of the deities in this deck into daily practice and how to work with them in readings as well. So it's just been a great one to pull a card from daily, a couple cards on the weekly. It's really beautiful, and I'm really glad that it is out in the world now. So yeah, that is my Hellenic Oracle deck, Greek mythology deck. The link to the Make Playing Cards site where you can get one, I'll put down below if you want it. I will also link the walkthrough video if you want to learn a bit more about it. So yeah, I won't ramble on about it too much longer because I have a habit of doing that, but if you are interested, those links will be below for you. Another deck that made its way into my life this month is the Somnia Tarot, and oh my giddy aunt, this deck is something else. This is one that I pre-ordered a month or so ago. I don't know if it was a Kickstarter or not, might have been, but either way, it's available now on the Nicholas Bruno website. This deck is something else. So the images are photography. It's done by artist Nicholas Bruno. It's called the Somnia Tarot. It is photography based on images inspired by the artist's experience with sleep paralysis. So it is a very spooky deck in a like very dreamlike kind of way. I don't know how best to describe it. I just know that when I saw the images in this deck, I knew instantly, like there was no questioning, I knew instantly that it was something that I could use for the kind of readings that pull things out of the back of your brain. And I was totally right. Like on surface level, people will say it's a great shadow work deck. Any deck can be a great shadow work deck, but this one, it suits the purpose very well, in my opinion. So I'm gonna show you a couple of cards because they're stunning. Brace yourselves for the stunningness. They are so spooky. They are so visceral. How many times can I use that word in a video? But they pull out feelings that you didn't know you had. They give you questions. They are a little bit jarring, and I love them. There's been quite a few other videos in existence that have talked about this deck in more detail with a greater finesse and more clarity than I ever could. So I will recommend some of those. I'll link a few down below if I remember. Otherwise, just a quick search on YouTube of this deck will give you a full walkthrough. I won't do one because I can't do it better than the ones that exist already, but they're just so stunning. There's no faces. Most of them looking at you are clothed in a sheet of some sort, or they're looking away or obscured by hair or something. So there's none of that. You don't get the connection that you do with a deck where the characters are looking at you. So it feels otherworldly, it feels disconnected, but at the same time, it's really, really deep. It's so deep. This is the Temperance card. Like how, like the feelings that gives you. It's so interesting. I love it. And the readings I've got from it so far have been phenomenal, as to be expected. So I'm very glad to be able to work with this one. The backs are also really cute. So cardstock wise, I think it's like a 400. They're really thick, but they're a little stiff to shuffle. I just need to break them in, I think. They're a good size. They're almost like a smid, like they're a good, like large size card. Not like giant, like an Oracle deck size card, but they fill your hands. If you've got small girl hands, you might have a hard time riffle shuffling this, but yeah, there's our Fool. Like how, oh, you get the sleep paralysis vibes, but it also is so something else. I don't know. I've had my share of strange and unusual feelings in my life, and this definitely just helps me work on a lot of them, you know? So anyway, that's the Somnia Tarot. If you're interested, I will have some more reference links down below, as well as where to get it, but this is a very extremely unique and different tarot deck that I am incredibly glad exists in the world and is worth looking into if it's the sort of thing that you'd be interested in. So that's that thing. I had to talk about that. I could not talk about that. I've also this month been trying my hand at traditional Oracle decks. like this. This is the Sacred Rebels Oracle by Biolana Fairchild, and this is what I would consider a traditional oracle deck under the realm of like self-healing and personal development. So it's not like a fortune tellery oracle deck, it's a personal development oracle deck, which is I think what the majority of like modern new agey oracle decks kind of fall under, like your Hay House decks. This is the Blue Angel deck, so those ones kind of all fall under the personal development healing umbrella. These tap right into like your feelings and healing and experiences and that sort of thing, with a meaty and chunky guidebook attached, as opposed to just having a keyword and then letting your mind kind of suss it out with the help of some tarot cards, which are those type of oracle decks are ones I really enjoy. They pair really well with tarot decks because they pull out a few extra things from the cards that you may not have associated with your typical tarot card meanings, which is great. Love those kind. Like the Illuminated Earth Oracle is one of my absolute favorites. But I wanted to give this type of oracle deck more of a chance, because I had a bad habit of just writing them off as being something I'm not interested in. But that's no way to learn. So I let go of some biases and I picked up the Sacred Rebels Oracle by Biolana Fairchild, and oh my gosh, I really like it. I didn't think I would like it as much as I do. Here are the backs. They are, you know, your big oracle cards. They're matte. They're a good thick cardstock, yada yada yada. But the messages on this are really quite good. I did my research when I was looking into one of these oracles, so I spent a lot of time trying to find the one that I thought would suit me and the way I look at the universe the best. I know that there's a lot out there that see the world quite differently than I would, and I know for a fact I wouldn't enjoy those. So there's a little bit of bias in that I specifically picked one that I thought would suit me the best, and there's no harm in doing that. But I will say that this oracle deck it's like a hug. And I tend to be one to sit down and let the cards kick my ass most of the time. Like, I love a shadow worky type deck. I love a deck that's confronting. I love a deck that makes me feel things that I'm not used to feeling, makes me uncomfortable. I love that kind of stuff. But when it comes to decks that are just a straight up hug, or that kind of just soft and gentle support, I tend to shy away from those decks because, I don't know, maybe I've got this weird thing about feeling like I'm not worthy of support. I got work to do. We all have work to do. So this is important to me now, and I didn't think it was going to be as important to me as it ended up being. Why do I keep showing the same cards? They keep coming up. Anyway, I'll read you some of the keywords on these. They're more like a key phrase. They're not like words. This one here, free from judgment, free to love. This one says follow your own rhythm. So I feel like when I was doing my research, looking for an oracle deck like this that I wanted to work with, I was initially turned off because I felt like with the phrases and the images, the buck kind of stops there. Like it's a phrase, so phrases tend to be more specific than just a keyword because they're less expansive. And you know, the art is, you know, depicts a specific scene. You work with it as you will. What I was not expecting was the meatiness of the guidebook. So I feel like with an oracle deck like this, the guidebook is essential, whereas an oracle deck like the Earthbound Oracle or the Illuminated Earth, you don't need a guidebook. You let your brain kind of run with it. But with these type of oracle decks, the guidebook is part of the experience. And I was underestimating the weightiness that the guidebook would have. And usually when you're watching a review video online, they touch on the guidebook, but you don't, like, they'll show you how many words are in it, but you don't get the value of the messages until you actually sit down and read it. So I think that was the big reason of why I was writing off these type of oracle decks with the chunky guidebooks for personal development and, you know, emotional support in that regard. So I'm learning lots about that area of of card reading. Is it something that I would eschew tarot for? Absolutely not. Tarot is so important, and I like the freedom that the 78 cards of tarot allows me, and you know, the playground of ideas that it lets me wander through. These are more specific, but at the same time there is beauty in their specificity, especially if they are with a well-written guidebook like this one. So that's what I have to say on that, I guess. I used a lot of words. I'm not sure if they all made sense strewn together, but those are my thoughts on the Sacred Rebels Oracle, Biolana Fairchild. It's a Blue Angel deck. I also have this weird thing with Blue Angel decks. The only other couple that I have are the Dreams of Gaia. I've got the mini and the big one, tarot, and the smell of Blue Angel decks, I don't know what it is. It's like a memory from my childhood or something, but they smell so good and they make me so happy. It like lights my heart on fire, and I don't understand why. I really wish that when we had those like emotional smell memories, there would also be like a little post-it note that comes out and reminds you where it's from, but nope, it says that this is a good smell. I don't know why, but it makes my heart happy. So like the boxes and the cards of every Blue Angel deck I've got smell this certain way, and it makes my heart happy. So anyway, that's interesting. So yes, Sacred Rebels Oracle, Biolana Fairchild has been giving me the feels lately. And it's just a nice supportive Oracle deck that is nice. I would never pull more than one card. There's like 4 pages to read in the guidebook for it, so generally I pick one card, throw a couple of tarot cards with it, and that's a big enough message for one day. So that's how I like to use that deck. But yeah, I've been really enjoying that this October. Yeah, I almost forgot as well. I've got fluff on me. Nature. I almost forgot. There's a couple of Kickstarters that I backed that I wanted to share. It's because they weren't in front of me. I wasn't looking at them. But there's 2 Kickstarters that I backed this month that I am so pumped about. There is still some days left to pledge on both of them if I get this up tomorrow like I'm expected to. So the first one is called the Forager's Daughter Tarot. It is a reprint, so there's already been the first edition. This second edition is called the Afterlight edition, and it is a nature-based deck, which I always thought I wasn't gonna be super into. Animal decks and nature decks, just for some reason, I guess I just hadn't found like the right one. So between my Hush Tarot and my Crow Tarot, I'm going to have the Forager's Daughter Afterlight edition, and it is gorgeous. The first edition, I remember it catching my attention a few months ago, but for some reason I just didn't jump on it. But this new edition is beautiful. It's like a Art Deco-y inspired nature, plant, animal deck, and the reason it's stuck with me as opposed to, you know, any other one I've ever seen is the associations between the animals chosen and the cards they represent make sense to me in my brain. A lot of the times I look at an animal deck and I just don't see it. I don't see the connection, and I'm like, that's a fox, or that's a bear. Like it doesn't click with me. But because of the mixture of the scenicness of the images on top of the chosen plant and animal, so we've got a plant as well as an animal mixed together in these cards, plus the beautiful art. Stunning. They're so beautiful. The colors, the gilding gets me, the beautiful box, the giant book it comes with, the altar cloth, everything. It's so beautiful. So I'm gonna recommend checking it out if you are into animal decks or in the market for an animal deck, are looking for an animal deck, because this one is super pretty and I'm very excited about it. That's the Forager's Daughter Afterlight edition. The next one that I backed just yesterday, actually, so it's fresh in my mind, is the Lilifer Tarot, and it's so cool. So this one is by, her name's Marion. It's called Little Darkness Press is the publishing company, or her company, and she is also the creator of the Reclaim Oracle, if you've ever heard of it. It's like a black and pink, really like self-worth type personal development oracle deck. It's beautiful and gorgeous, and I will touch on that in a second. But at first, the Reclaim Oracle was something I just thought wasn't going to be for me. The aesthetic was off, and modern decks like that, the kind of very simplistic, like monotone, two-tone, very flat, two-dimensional art usually isn't up my alley. So I never even entertained the thought of it, the Reclaim Oracle. But then this one, for some reason, it clicked with me. I saw it because Kickstarter, in its infinite wisdom, suggested other campaigns for me based on the one I backed, so The Forager's Daughter. And it's like, you might like this. And I was browsing through them. Most of them were like, nah, nah, nah. But then I saw this one and was like, wait a second. Hold up, this is beautiful. It's a watercolor painting style. It is inspired at first by the Marseille and the Majors and Rider-Waite-Smith and the Minors, which is so cool. It's got a ton of elemental symbolism on it, which I am an elemental bitch. I love anything with elemental associations like that are staring you in the face. Throw the elemental symbols on there. Make the colors representative of the elements. Like, give it to me. That is like, that's my jam. I love that. It adds to like the earthiness of everything, and I'm such like an earthy and grounded person that the elemental associations just make me happy. So there's that. Characters in them are so whimsical. And like, they don't look human. They're like creatures. They're like little sprites, almost, is the best I can describe them. Like little sprites of energy that represent what's going on in the card. And Arthur, this is my dog. You can't see him, but he's whinging behind me because I'm talking at nothing again. But anyway, so the little sprites are just so perfect, and they make the cards sing. Oh, it's so cool. Yeah, see, he's leaving. He's leaving me. He doesn't know what I'm on about. But anyway, it's gorgeous. So I backed it. And in backing it, and its beauty, a couple of cards that are standouts for me as well. The Strength card got me immediately. And I usually, like, the Strength card is such an important card to me. The Strength and the Chariot card, those ones, if they're not good, I won't get a deck because they're important. And both of them are absolute gems. I'm a Leo, so the Strength card is kind of like my zodiac card, and if it's not good, which a lot of the time I just don't relate to it, but this one is great. It's like a she-beast, and it's so cool. It's so good. The Hierophant's also really good. Chariot has that momentum, and like the two wolves pulling the chariot. It's so love, 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 love. So I've been like quietly obsessing over the existence of this deck for a good solid day now, and the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, well, if I love this one so much, maybe I need to give the Reclaim Oracle another look. So I watched a couple of walkthroughs of the Reclaim Oracle, I watched Lisa's video, and oh my gosh, I think it'll pair well in that it's the same creator, but it's also, again, it falls into that category of the, you know, personal development, very self-worth workings type of oracle deck, which I loved so much about the Sacred Rebels Oracle, so I ordered it too. She's getting low on her first edition of the Reclaim Oracle, so if you want it, get it now while it's still available. But I was talking to her on Instagram, Marion, the creator, and she's planning on doing a second printing of the Reclaim Oracle, so it's not like imperative, but for sure, if you want to get on board with the Lilifer Tarot, I would back it on Kickstarter. I highly recommend it. Both these two Kickstarters I've mentioned have reached their funding goal, so they will be printed. So that's good to know if you're putting in your pledge on Kickstarter. And both of them come with bonuses. 2 stretch goals for the Lilifer Tarot have been met, and they are bonus cards. So we've got a Lilith card and a Lucifer card as well on top, which I think is so great. Very like, you've got your feminine and your masculine energies in that kind of dark and spooky sort of way, and I'm here for it. So those are the 2 Kickstarters that I've backed this month that I'm so excited about, and when they come, they won't be ready, and I'm in Canada, so I always get them last, but they'll probably get to me like early next year, so January, February, March next year. So when I get them, I'll share them with you, but for now I just wanted to mention them. If you're interested, have a look, and you're more than welcome to back them with my blessing on Kickstarter. So those are some Kickstarters that I'm very excited about. The last deck that I wanted to talk about is the Prism of Visions. This is the deck I used to pull my card of the year for my Wheel of the Year, my gardening year. So the gardening year, like I said, starts immediately after Samhain, New Year. So I pulled my card of the year, and I just want to share it with you because it's fun. This deck is a beautiful art deck by James R. Eads. He's got quite a few decks. There's a mini version of this, I think, kickstarting right now. Beautiful cards. The art is very like modern impressionist is the best way I can describe it. The guidebook's good. It's neat. All of the minor arcana, if you line them all up, they make like a panorama image, which is cool. It's neat when you lay them out, but like in a reading, sometimes they line up, sometimes they don't. It kind of makes a scene that flows together, but it's not like anything super revolutionary in my like reading opinion. Like I still just get, you know, your card meaning, whether the image perfectly lines up with the one next to it. Like, I'm indifferent on that regard. But anyway, this is the card that I pulled for the next gardening year, and this is it. It's the 10 of Pentacles. Isn't it beautiful? So beautiful. And this is traditionally like a good card. People are like, oh, good. Wealth, legacy, family, and all that jazz. But this, when pulled as the card of the year, seems very daunting to me. It's almost like it's giving me a task, like applying pressure in the legacy department. And I'm gonna need to spend some time with this card and really work on my feelings about it, because it's telling me things. So I think it's very important that I pulled this card for this year, and I'm definitely going to keep it out for a while and reflect on it. But, you know, the whole building of a family thing it's kind of heavy. And it's been something I've kind of been toying with for a long time. Maybe not toying with, fighting with myself with is probably a better explanation in that regard. As well as like a material legacy. Like, I'm one who doesn't like to have a lot, but in that regard, what have I to give to others to pass on, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I'll need to work with this card. Maybe it just means I need to plant a lot of trees this year, which I might do anyway. I love planting trees. They're my favorite. It's one of my favorite things to do is plant a tree. A tree that will outlive me, will see things that I won't get to see. Maybe that will be my legacy. It's fruit trees. Anyway, so yes, this is my card of the year. So I thought I would get super personal and share that with you all. So yeah, so that's my October favorites, I guess. Oh my gosh, that is probably longer than I expected. I just want to do a quick little video, but here we are, me yammering away like it's my day job. But anywho, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. If any of you have any questions about any of the things I mentioned, feel free to leave them below. I'd be happy to oblige with some answers. That is the best of my knowledge. So yeah, let me know what you think about these decks, whether you love them, you hate them, you loathe them entirely. We can get a conversation going down in the comments, which is always fun. So like I said, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. All the best in this new wheel of the year. I'll see all of you fine people in my next video.